Well, hello, and welcome back to my kitchen. I am doing a bit of a meal prep. I'm making my dinner and prepping a few batch items for the week. Nothing real elaborate, though I wanted to share a few of these ideas with you because I've made a few of them before, though I haven't really pulled them together in the approach that I've talked about in other videos as far as how they relate to my holistic approach to health and why they are specifically medicinal in my world. And if this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name is Tiffany. I am the founder of Anderson Therapeutics, and I am a health educator. I'm a wellness coach, and I am an older adult who's aging solo and really applying lifestyle medicine in my world because I am managing multiple chronic conditions. And one of the most beautiful, delicious ways I can think of to do that is to put together nourishing, healthy, nutritious meals because I love to cook, always have. And this is something I've done throughout my adult life. And after a health crisis, I switched over to a specific meal plan called the Starch Solution. And it is a whole food, plant-based, oil-free meal plan that honestly improved my life in ways that I didn't believe were possible. So now that I am here with this Aging Well channel and encountering so many people who are frustrated with their diet, and whether you are even interested in adopting a plant-based diet, that is not the point. This video and a lot of the things on my channel are about being more proactive and making improved choices in your wellness plan, in your life, because it's never too late. And wherever you are in your health journey, there is always a change. There is always something more positive that you can add to your day, to your wellness routine that will make a difference in how you feel. My menu plan for the week is I'm making a veggie mash. Since I do follow the Starch Solution, that means that the starch is the star of my plate. So whether that is something like potatoes or rice or corn, there's a variety of starches that are going to be the bulk of my meal, and then I pair other produce around that, and that is the bulk of my meals. My veggie mash is typically russet potatoes, so it's as if I'm making mashed potatoes, though I doll it up a little bit and add things like cauliflower, carrots. Sometimes I'll add other root vegetables like turnips. I always add leafy greens so I have extra nutrients in there. I like to add garlic, and sometimes I'll add onions. I also scored some portobello mushrooms this week on sale. Two beautiful portobello mushrooms for $2.37. I'm making some sweet potato pudding. I've made this before, and these were a fairly good deal, so I'll be roasting those. So this is first thing. I'll be cleaning those and prepping them in the oven. I'm also having some nutritarian salads this week, so that means I will need some of my oil-free salad dressing. There's a number of those on the market, though I like to make my own, and the way I do that is I get a can of chickpeas. It's really simple because I'm going to be using the beans for my salad, spicing those up. Though the Aquafaba, that is actually the liquid that's in here, that is a substitute for oil. So I use the Aquafaba in order just to make a simple vinaigrette. And you can do this any number of ways. I do the really easy way, and I just get a packet from the grocery store. I use a little more water than it calls for on here, and then I substitute things like some lemon, or I'll use apple cider vinegar, and it's just to taste. So it's basically, just modifying it like most cooks that I know do. We taste things and then we add, we subtract, have it so it fits our taste buds, add extra spice, extra seasoning, whatever the case may be. And then I just put that in a glass pint jar. And then I have an Italian vinaigrette for the week. The nutritarian salads are really heavy in nutrients, and this is from Dr. Joel Fuhrman. I will put his information in the description below if you're interested. His salads take nutrition to a very different level than the Starch Solution, which was founded by Dr. John McDougall. A nutritarian salad focuses on what Dr. Fuhrman calls GBOMBS. And so that means, so it's G and the word bombs, and it's an acronym that stands for the greens, B for beans, O for onions, M for mushrooms, another B for berries, and then the S is for seeds. And so having all of those nutrients in one salad, and there are a number of beautiful dressings that you can make using seeds. I'll just be putting the vinaigrette, and then I have some pecans. So I'll be making that type of a salad. That's going to be the bulk of my dinner tonight, and then I'll make enough extra for tomorrow. I'm also going to be having some of my veggie loaded hash browns that I've made before, and you can see any of those in my Nourish playlist if you're interested in checking some of those recipes out. And then I'm also making a really simple corn chowder. So I will get these potatoes in the oven, then I'm going to show you how I put together the vinaigrette and put together this salad and show you how it all comes together. So first things first, I'm just going to spray these with some veggie wash, and I just make that with some white vinegar and some water just to spray down and then scrub the potatoes. I leave the peeling on, and since these are fairly large, I'm baking them on 400 for about 50 minutes, just until they're really, really soft. And then I will be peeling these completely in order to make the pudding. And this pudding is from Javant. His channel is called Healthy Vegan Eating. I met him last fall, and I make my recipe a little bit spicier. And then when I serve it, I actually zest an orange. This is a Tangelo, and put that on top of it. So there's a number of ways that you can make that pudding. It's only sweetened by dates, and the sweet potatoes, when you roast those, they're so sweet already. They don't need any other sweetener other than the dates. And then of course I add the cocoa powder, vanilla, little bit of salt, and then I also add cinnamon and cayenne, and that's how I spice it up and take it to a little bit different level than Javant's recipe. Okay, those potatoes are scrubbed and now they're in the oven. Now I'm going to make the vinaigrette, and this is just super easy, really inexpensive. And the beauty of this for me, you know, is having it oil-free, because I had heart disease and high cholesterol, and having an oil-free vinaigrette like this enables me to have a lot of variety with salads, and also to use it for like pasta salads, a dipping for bread. There's all sorts of things that I can use a vinaigrette for, and even having it as a dipping sauce for roasted potatoes. So I just put the dry ingredients in here, and this is about 4 tablespoons of water, and I can adjust that to taste. And you can use any kind of vinegar. I just use the white vinegar. So this is 1/3 cup of the vinegar. I'm going to mix that up first. And let me know in the comments if you have a favorite homemade dressing that you make, especially if you've explored oil-free options, just to keep things a little bit lighter in your meal plan. And here's where it's so easy. I've already just opened the can, and all I'm doing is just pouring this chickpea liquid. It's referred to as Aquafaba. And if you're cooking your own chickpeas, you can use that liquid as well. I just use the cans. It's easier for me. And that is it. Now I will mix that up. And look how much dressing this gives me. And depending on how much, you know, I'm going to use this throughout the week, it's got a great consistency. And I like to dress my salads quite lightly. I don't like a lot of heavy dressing on my salads, since I'll also be using a lot of softer fruits like berries with this nutritarian week. It tastes really good. I'll be adding a little bit of lemon for that, just because I want a little bit of tanginess. The greens that I've chosen for the week include baby spinach, and then I've got some tiny little heads of romaine that I'm going to be using for the base of the salad, along with some red onion, which has been quite sharp. So I like that contrast, especially since I'm going to be using really sweet strawberries this week. Oftentimes I'll use blueberries, but I've got strawberries and then pecans for the nuts that I'll be using on the salad. And there you go. And the longer this sits in the fridge, it actually will pick up more flavor from the dry herbs. So oftentimes by the end of the week, if I've got it down to about right here, sometimes I'll just add more water and more lemon juice, and then I have more dressing. And now I'm just going to take those chickpeas. I'm not going to drain them because I'm going to give them a little bit of a saute. So I'm leaving the liquid on here. So these are just going to lightly brown, and having some of that liquid on here is going to allow the seasoning to actually stick a little bit better. And that's just personal preference. So to season these, I'll just add a little bit of cumin, and I just sprinkle on when I'm just cooking for myself like this. I don't necessarily need to measure. A little bit of garlic powder and a little bit of onion powder. Chickpeas are, especially if you buy them dry, are so economical. The grocery store actually had canned beans on sale for 69 cents this week, and that's really budget friendly for me because I can get 2 or 3 meals out of one can, since I'll be having it with other foods, you know, other starches and lots of produce. Just a light dusting of cayenne. So I do like my food spicy. And for anyone who's wanting to get more fiber into your diet, especially if you have any type of gut problems and you aren't digesting well, add more beans to your diet. And if you have a hard time with digesting raw vegetables, steam them. Okay, so chickpeas are cooling, the potatoes are in the oven. Now it's salad building time. And this is where it can seem a little daunting and labor intensive, though. When produce is stored properly, and depending on the timing of your meal plan throughout the week, none of these beautiful things need to go to waste. Here's my baby spinach. I will be freezing part of this, so that way I'll have frozen greens on hand for things like my oatmeal. These are the little baby heads of lettuce that I showed. I often get coupons for these at Kroger, and so they're really inexpensive. And sometimes just half of a lettuce head is great for me, since I'm just cooking for one. I scored some really great deals on pecans at the end of the baking season last year, and nuts like this will stay in the fridge for a long time. So if you score a deal, you know, then you've got nuts all the time and they're inexpensive. Mushrooms were on clearance. I store these in a brown paper bag, so I'll just get out the amount that I'll need for the salad and then wash only what I need and keep the rest in a brown paper bag. I've got some celery hearts here. I'll grate up a little bit of carrot on the salad. I've got some cleaned radishes. They're already prepped and ready to roll. Some English cucumber. And then I've got some berries. After I get this all chopped up, then I will have the onion as well. So I've got my GBOMB salad. Started chopping up some of the vegetables. So I've already got that little head of lettuce cleaned. and chopped up, along with the celery hearts and then the radishes. So I'll just start layering that in here and move on to the rest. And you can probably see that brown paper bag over there. I took out just the amount of mushrooms that I wanted to have for this salad, because this is going to look massive, and it is. And I'm also going to be taking out a portion of it to save for my lunch tomorrow. So I just took out about that much of the mushrooms. So I'll just add them in with the salad. So I was able to spray them with the veggie wash. And so the rest of these, then I'm just going to be dumping them in this brown paper bag. These aren't washed. Hopefully you're doing that already. Let me know if you are and how well it works for you. When you store mushrooms in a brown paper bag this way in the fridge, then they will stay good a lot longer. And next thing I will prep is the spinach, the carrots, the berries, and the onions. Okay, moving right along. Now I've got the strawberries sliced up, some carrot grated, English cucumber chopped up, and then some purple onion. So now that's going to go into the salad. And if you like salads and the chopping can seem really like a lot, and it is, I find it really relaxing. And so this is actually soothing and calming for me. And when, I'm on my own and I'm not making a video, then of course this goes a lot faster. And what I often do, I will get in assembly line mode and then actually have a bunch of jars out, and then I make jar salads and then layer it appropriately. And so even with the dressing on the bottom, with all of the vegetables and everything in here, even if I add grains and beans, nuts, that type of thing, you can layer it in a way that it will be fresh all week. I've gone on road trips and used a cooler and done this. So if you're interested in that, you can find those online, but I'm happy to make a video and show you how I do that. I will always split the bag in two when I know that I'm going to be having some of it fresh, and then I just pack it fairly tight into a quart size freezer bag. And then I'm just going to press most of the air out, because when I put this in the freezer, once it gets fully frozen, then it's almost crunchy when you squeeze the bag. And then that's how I portion out a little bit of greens when I'm making my morning oatmeal. And that just goes in like that. And that way, this isn't going to waste. So if, you want some spinach for a dip or whatever, but you don't want it to go to waste, put some of it in the freezer. Just for an example, here's one that's already frozen. And see, you can feel it crunches. And then you can just get it in smaller bits that would actually go into a sweetbread or oatmeal or a sauce, things like that. Now the rest of this, a portion of it anyway, because I'll be having salads throughout the week, and I might steam some of this or put it in my veggie mash. I'm just going to do a coarse chop on this. And this is filling up the bowl nicely. The final ingredients to put in here are the pecans. You can toast the nuts if you like. I've done that before. Just a light sprinkle on there. I'll be adding some of the beans. And now I'll just toss it the way I normally toss it with my fingers. Bring it all together. And then I'm going to be portioning it out. And I will show you how I prep that, so that way for tomorrow's lunch it's going to be just as fresh as it is right now. Portioned out just this much for my lunch tomorrow. And so I've just taken a napkin and I've snipped it in half, because part of the napkin I'm actually just going to put down with the spinach to just absorb any moisture, and that will prevent this from actually getting gooey the way greens tend to spoil in the crisper. And I will just clip that over loosely and put that in the crisper drawer, and then that should stay good all week. With this one, I'm going to moisten this one slightly and put that across the top and then seal it. And that's how, leaving this in the fridge and then putting it in my chilled lunchbox for tomorrow, that's how this salad will stay fresh, and then I will just pack the dressing separately. All right, there is my nutritarian salad, and with that oil-free vinaigrette that I put together, and we'll just go a little across the top, I don't know, a few tablespoons there. That's about as much dressing as I will need on here, because there's a lot of different types of vegetables on here. And of course, with the mushrooms and with the berries, there's already going to be a lot of moisture here. And the lovely thing about salads, we get to customize and add whatever types of produce that we like. That to me is my favorite part of salads, to make them interesting. And you know, I don't know that this will actually fill me up. This does look like an enormous bowl of greens, and it is. And I've talked many times before in my videos about I eat my vegetables first, even in the morning. That is one of the things that I was always taught to do as a kid, is to make sure to fill your belly with some vegetables first, to have that layer in your gut. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to have this organized in chapters and timestamps. I will have some links to Dr. Furman and some other recipe videos you'll see on the thumbnail, this salad, the dressing, and that chocolate pudding made with sweet potatoes. I am going to eat dinner, maybe pair this with some rye crackers, or I have some sourdough. I will just see how I feel. I hope you have a nice evening, take good care of yourself, and dine well.